Hey guys, kinggath here with a massive patch for Sim Settlements. This is patch 3.0, which I'm calling Before We Rise. So just like the Industrial Revolution launch, this is kind of the pre-patch for the base mod before the expansion comes out. I'm going to use these couple extra hours to make sure that I can have a smooth simultaneous release on Xbox and PC. Now, unlike Industrial Revolution, most of the features that you saw on the trailer are actually part of the core mod. And this is part of a philosophy I've been applying to Sim Settlements to compartmentalize as much as possible that's asset specific so that Xbox players can keep using Sim Settlements indefinitely and take advantage of the most important features. So the framework of Sim Settlements is isolated from a lot of the assets, and that's why Industrial Revolution is completely optional. If you need to make space for Rise of the Commonwealth, you'll be able to remove Industrial Revolution. Obviously, you will lose access to all of the Industrial Revolution buildings and any of the things that those settlers created for you, such as the custom magazines or the custom beers, but the actual the framework that controls, for example, the stockpile system or the advanced industrial plots that branch off and pass, that's all part of the core mod. So if add-on pack authors are using it for other things, you'll still be able to take advantage of those without losing access. And Rise of the Commonwealth was designed the same way. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you guys some of the new stuff that's in 3.0. I'm going to be going over it very loosely because the in-depth series of videos will go over how all of the stuff works. So the first thing to talk about is that martial plots and recreational plots, their building plans that were included with Industrial Revolution are now part of the core mod. So if this is your first time installing Sim Settlements, you will actually have access to 6 plots as opposed to just 4 in the original release of Sim Settlements. So these 6 plots are all now part of the core experience to Sim Settlements. The other thing that's part of the core mod are the interior plots. Because these are much smaller builds and are actually individual items as opposed to a bunch of high detailed models that require big files, these are all just items that are placed inside of a space. So the actual building plans are all part of the core mod. So interior plots are available right now in 3.0. They are available for all 6 building types, and the building plans will start working right now. You don't have to wait for Rise of the Commonwealth. Again, I will go into details on how these work and some of the quirks to watch out for with them in the in-depth videos, but no, you can start playing with those right away. All right, next thing to talk about is the importance of the City Planner's Desk. Prior to this patch, the City Planner's Desk was something kind of optional. If you wanted access to some of the features, you could use it, but you could get away without it. I would say it's pretty important now to have one inside of every settlement, and that's why if you're using Settlement Menu Manager, the furniture menu is up front and center to show the importance of that. If you're not using Settlement Menu Manager, I highly recommend you pick it up. It does add a custom menu to Sim Settlements, and the reason I rely on Settlement Menu Manager is because uninstalling Sim Settlements later won't break your build menu if you have Settlement Menu Manager installed. So it is required to get access to this menu, though it's not required to use Sim Settlements. But I highly recommend it. So not required, but strongly recommended. The City Planner's Desk now has a lot of new things on it. You'll see that there's the safe. There is the actual city plan, and that stuff will be explained inside of the in-depth series, but you can start playing around and trying to figure out what those things do right now in the 3.0 patch. The donation system that's mentioned in the trailer is controlled through the supply safe. The settler-managed cities are controlled through the city plan activator, though the actual self-building cities, while it is a core feature of Sim Settlements, because again, I want to use that compartmentalization, the actual designs for the cities and the way the system works is all controlled in Rise of the Commonwealth. I'll explain more in depth. Just know that in the future, you'll still be able to have settler-built cities without requiring Rise of the Commonwealth, but the actual cities that we've designed that are upgradable over time, those are all contained in Rise of the Commonwealth. So if you try and use that with patch 3.0, it'll just tell you that there are no city plans, but in the future, there'll be add-on packs released that will have city builds that will be much smaller than Rise of the Commonwealth. So eventually, if you need to remove it for space concerns on Xbox, you'll be able to do so. Some other systems to talk about: the shared supplies. So you'll see on the left there that I have a little Brahmin symbol next to my food. If I go into workshop mode, you'll see that this settlement has 0 food, but is still in the green. So essentially, I have redesigned the way provisioner systems work so that the food sharing actually works as you would expect it to. And if another settlement in the provisioner network is building enough food that they have surplus to support another settlement, it will support it, actually. In the vanilla system, it would basically only look at actual food items, extra surplus food and water that were sitting in the workbenches of your other settlements. With Sim settlements installed now, it actually looks at the food that's being grown and the water that's being produced, and will apply it to any settlements on the shared provisioner network. So local leader becomes really important to have a good time. So if you're not interested in having a charisma build, there are mods that will allow you to cheat on local leader, and you might want to do that because it becomes kind of an important part of the gameplay. In the future, I will add some sort of method to gain access to the local leader perk without actually having, or at least the provisioner system without having a charisma build. I know a lot of you don't like to play with charisma builds, but you still want access to all these features, and I'll create an alternative. But for now, I would just recommend using a cheat mod if you're not interested in a charisma build. So shared resources now work. They'll allow upgrades to other settlements. So if you want to centralize your water and food production, you can do so. The other change you'll see on the menu right now, or I'm sorry, on the HUD right now, is that new meter at the bottom. That is the maintenance meter. The maintenance system is turned off by default. It is one of the more hardcore options that gets turned on if you answer, throw everything you've got at me in the wizard. But by default, for all of you, it will be disabled. So you'll need to enable that under gameplay, options, difficulty. I think it's a fantastic system. It adds a lot of depth to settlement building, but some of you aren't going to like it, so it's off by default. But definitely give that, check that out and try turning that on. I'll give you the rough synopsis of what it does, and I'll explain how it works and the reasons for it in the in-depth series. But it essentially adds a cap per day cost to having automated defenses or gas-powered or fusion core powered power sources. So I'll explain all of it in more detail, but know that it's a more hardcore system for those of you guys who like scarcity gameplay and city management. Okay, other systems that were mentioned that are part of the core mod. The visitor system is part of the core mod. Visitors are essentially NPCs that will show up and fill out your settlement to make it feel more alive. The more commercial and recreational advancements you have, so the higher level and more of those plots you have in a settlement, the more visitors will be drawn to your city. And the visitors will not only add some life, but they also generate more income for your settlement. So that is a system that will be able to be plugged into by mod authors. So if you're interested in adding to the visitor system, the API toolkit, which will be coming out in a few weeks, sometime in January, will allow you to inject more visitors to the system. What else can we talk about? So the visitor system, the donation system is all done through there. I think I already mentioned that. Just want to make sure I'm covering all. I'm giving you guys just kind of a rough synopsis of what's in this patch. There is so much content. Oh, the recruitment options. So by default, when you have Sim settlements now, the recruitment system from vanilla has been hijacked without actually disabling anything. All of the options essentially work the same way they do in vanilla, but you'll now have holotape options to change the way recruitment works. So if you want to recruit settlers beyond your charisma base, you can now control that easily in the holotape. And the reason that I hijacked that system is because I want to be able to have buildings and other things that affect the recruitment rates and the types of settlers that are recruited. So Sim Settlements now has kind of a framework in place so that other mods will be able to alter the recruitment system without actually having to alter any of the workshop scripts or vanilla system. So this is kind of a big deal. And again, this will all be explained in greater detail later. Just know that the way it works out of the box, it's not breaking anything. It's not changing any of the vanilla system. If anything, it's just enhancing it. For example, by default, whenever you get so lucky to spawn a settler, so the way the default recruitment system works is while a beacon is up, you'll have a chance every day to get a new settler at each settlement. But there's a subsystem in that, is that occasionally you'll get a Brahmin instead of a settler. Well, the first improvements that Sim Settlements makes is that those Brahmins no longer replace your settler. They will be in addition to a settler. So it's as if the settler is bringing a Brahmin with them, as opposed to the vanilla system where Brahmin just magically start appearing in your settlement. So that is one of the enhancements that the new recruitment system allows. So all of this will be gone into in exhaustive detail in the in-depth series. But know that all of these systems that were described inside of the, or that were mentioned in the trailer, those are all part of the core mod. You just need to get the expansion to add some of the content. For example, the dynamic soundscape, all of those sounds and everything are included in the actual expansion. The actual city designs are included in the expansion, but the core mod controls the features. And I know that's kind of abstract and maybe hard to follow, but for those of you guys who get it, you should be excited about it, because it means for long-term Xbox players can take advantage of Sim Settlements without needing the bloated expansions in the future if you need to cut those to make some space. Okay, guys, get excited for the expansion. It is just hours away. In the meantime, play around with the 3.0 patch, start experimenting, see what you can learn before I get those videos up. Otherwise, guys, take care and enjoy the mod.